week 4 predictions. So let's see how we did last week. So my dad, it says the weekly record is 0-0 because it's a new week, so I reset it. But he won 10 games. We all didn't do that good this week. We did all right, but my dad went 10-7, so his overall record is 31-17, which isn't bad. I also went 10-7. My overall record is 33-15, so I'm 2 games ahead. And then Greg was the big loser last week, going 9-8. But even though Greg lost by a point, that means we're just tied. So Greg and I are tied overall, and then my dad is still down by 2, even though Greg had the last week, which is pretty funny considering that Greg had the greatest week out of all the weeks so far, winning 14 games. But that hints why we're tied right now. I've been more mediocre, and then he's been up and down, up and down. All right, so Thursday night football. This should be a good game. Seahawks at Cardinals. I'm going to take the Seahawks, 30-17. James Conner just got injured. Benson isn't a bad running back, but the Cardinals just aren't a very good team. You look at these two records, you see 2-1. The Seahawks actually deserve to be 2-1. I mean, yes, they played the Saints, but still, they put up 40 points. They did what they were supposed to do. For example, when the 49ers beat the Saints almost came back and won that game. Sure, the 49ers beat the Seahawks, so I'm kind of just arguing a brick wall here, but still, you understand what I mean. I think the Seahawks are a better team than the Cardinals. I'm going to pick the Cardinals, even though the Cardinals are at home. All right, so Greg took the Seahawks 24-20. Really no surprise there. The Seahawks defense is a lot better than the Cardinals defense, in my opinion. I mean, the Cardinals defense isn't bad. They actually have never been really that bad. Even against the Panthers, like the first snap of the play, it was a fumble, returned for a touchdown or almost a touchdown or something like that. But this pick doesn't surprise me. My dad also taking the Seahawks by 7, so everybody's taking the Seahawks. I can see the Cardinals winning it, but that's not my prediction. And then we have the Steelers and the Vikings in Ireland. I don't think they've ever played in Ireland, so this is interesting. It makes sense that these two teams would play, though. Probably the most Irish teams I can think of. Both 2-1. Kind of like Thursday night with the Seahawks and Cardinals. This is also kind of one of those games where one team deservingly is 2-1. I mean, no, the Vikings looked bad for the first 2 weeks, and then they just dominated last week. So I guess I can't say that. But I think the Vikings figured it out. I know it was only 1 week against the Bengals with a terrible defense. But still, I think the Vikings have figured it out. The Steelers have just been pretty mediocre. Somehow they're 2-1. They probably should have lost to the Patriots. They probably should have lost to the Jets. They just got lucky. And the Steelers' defense isn't as good as the Vikings' defense, even though it probably should be. Offense, the Steelers' offense could be better. I mean, Carson Wentz is their quarterback, and that was 1 week, like I said, against the Bengals defense. So I can definitely see the Steelers' defense being better. Aaron Rodgers doesn't throw it as much as he should. They run the ball a lot, which, I mean, it's Mike Tomlin, so of course he's going to run the ball a lot. But the running backs aren't really that good, so you can't really get away with that. If the Steelers want to win this game, it's got to be a pass-heavy game. Greg's prediction is the Steelers by 2. So this is a good prediction, especially if like I was saying last week. Last week I predicted a lot of upsets, and I still won 10 games. And if you want to get ahead in this league, you have to kind of take these picks where it's an upset pick, right? But it realistically could definitely happen. I could definitely see the Steelers winning this game. There is no home field advantage. There's no, and both teams are pretty similar. I think the Vikings offense is a little bit better, but like I said, it's been 1 week with Carson Wentz. Things can definitely go off the rails. And then my dad also picked the Vikings. Yeah, it's kind of crazy how these weeks work. Like the first 2 weeks, everybody's like, "Oh man, the Vikings suck," and then all of a sudden now it's like, "Oh well, they just beat the Bengals. They scored 48 points. I think they're Super Bowl contenders again." Um, Commanders Falcons. I'm gonna take the Commanders 27-14. Commanders looked good last week with Marcus Mariota. It's kind of sad. We're only in week 4 and already a bunch of teams have backup quarterbacks starting because everybody's already injured. I mean, it happens every year. It's no surprise, but yeah, it's just kind of sad. Um, yeah, the Falcons are not one of those injured teams. They just suck, apparently, at least looking at what happened last week, which I kind of knew was going to happen. Like, you can tell at the end of last year, like, Michael Penis wasn't even doing that good. Um, but everybody was like, "Oh, Bijan Robinson," and it's true. Bijan is probably a top 2 running back in the league, in my opinion. Maybe top 3, but still, he is basically keeping the Falcons alive right now. I think he'll get a touchdown or two, but the Falcons' offense just looks kind of dead, especially after losing to the Panthers 30-0. The Commanders, on the other hand, they look good. Marcus Mariota looks how he usually does. Um, and I think it will be enough to beat the Falcons. Greg also agrees with me. Commanders by 10. And then my dad also. Oh, my dad actually had a prediction, or I mean, an upset. Sorry, 27-20. This one's a little bit more out there, but again, I can see it. Like, there's always, they say any given Sunday, right? There's always these weird upsets. Like the Browns just beat the Packers last week. Nobody saw that coming. If the Falcons want to beat the Commanders in this game, they're definitely going to have to throw the ball, kind of like what I said the Vikings have to do. I mean, sorry, what the Steelers have to do against the Vikings. I don't think that they can just run it. I think they could run it all over the Commanders for a portion of the game, but that's not going to get them the win because the Commanders' offense is still very deadly. Um, of course, if the Commanders' offense was pretty slow, then you could run the ball and probably win 10-3 or something like that. But I don't see that happening. If the Falcons are going to win this, Michael Penix is definitely going to have to just chuck some 70-yard bombs. All right, Chargers Giants. Jackson Dart is starting. Um, it's the tale as old as time. You should let your rookie quarterback sit on the bench and develop and not start him in week 3 against one of the best defenses in the league, which is the Chargers defense. But nobody will ever learn their lesson, and Jackson Dart is going to come out and look like ass. And that's just what's going to happen because it happens every year. It happened to Bryce Young. It happened to Trey Lance. It happened to basically everybody because these coaches just get in these predicaments. It's like, oh man, we're 0-3. We got to make a change. What are we going to do? Put in our rookie quarterback. I mean, even JJ McCarthy had a year on the bench, so that's not a good example. But you can just see these rookie quarterbacks go into the game and they're not ready, and then they suck, and then everybody's like, oh man, but they were drafted so high. They were supposed to be good. What happened? It's like, oh, well, no shit. you know, of course this happened. So, unfortunately, that's what's going to happen again. And then Greg also predicted the Chargers a little bit closer. I mean, Jackson Dart could be better than I'm saying. I could be wrong. He looked good in preseason, but I just don't see this ending well for him. And then my dad also took the Chargers only by 1 point. That's kind of surprising. I've also been way too high on the Giants. I mean, I only picked them against the Chiefs. But of course, Russell Wilson tricked me because he threw for 4 touchdowns and 400 yards against the Cowboys and then looked terrible. Titans, Texans. I'll take the Texans by 3. CJ Stroud does not look good. He had he had a good freshman. CJ Stroud is one of those weird examples of the opposite of what I just said was going to happen with Jackson Dart, which is really weird because 99% of rookie quarterbacks will sit on the bench and develop, and when they're ready, they'll go out and they'll play good. CJ Stroud went out his rookie year, started at the Texans, and balled out the entire year and almost won MVP. I think he won Rookie of the Year. And then after that, he's just sucked for the every season after his freshman year, which doesn't make any sense. It is very strange. But if the Texans don't win this game, then yeah, you might as well just give the Colts the division. The Titans played pretty decent against the Rams. I was surprised about that. But last week against the Colts, they did not look good. I think they'll do better this week. The Texans defense is supposed to be really good, but they don't look really good. So I think the Titans will stay in it. And then we have Greg taking the Texans by 7. I like that score, 27-20. It's definitely going to be a close game. Then we have my dad taking the Titans. So this is an interesting pick. But at the same time, if you look at it, it's really not. CJ Stroud hasn't done anything for 3 weeks. They're 0-3. I mean, neither has Cam Ward, but Cam Ward has shown sparks. I mean, he another example of what I was saying. Don't start your rookies straight off the bat. And I don't even think they played him in preseason either. So, of course, he's going to throw a pick six the first play of the game, which is the worst pick six you've ever seen in your life. I don't think he'll do it this week. I don't think this is a bad pick. I can 100% see the Titans winning this game, and Cam Ward doesn't even play very good, and the Titans could still win this game. Then we have the Eagles and the Buccaneers. So this is a battle of 3-0 teams. This should be a really good game. I'm going to take the Eagles by 3. Earlier in the season, or I should say before the season started, I always liked the Bucs in this game. But there's just something about the Bucs. They haven't looked very good. They're 3-0, but they can easily be 0-3. All the games they played, they won on a last-second drive, which is good because obviously you need a quarterback who's reliable, who you know can send your team down the field with 30 seconds left to go win the game. But should you really be putting yourself in these situations? And Mike Evans is out, and somebody else is out too for the Buccaneers. I can't remember who. But, oh yeah, Chris Godwin. Well, he was never in this season anyway, but they don't have Chris Godwin either. So they're down their top 2 receivers. I think they'll get the 400-pound defensive back, or defensive lineman, whatever. I forgot what his name was, but the Florida guy to stop the tush push, which I think they could do, but I think the Eagles, you can tell they figured out their pass game last week. So now the Eagles are actually probably going to pass the ball a lot, which is going to be a problem for the Buccaneers. I think it will still be close, but I think the Eagles are going to pull it out. Greg is actually taking the Buccaneers. I mean, not a bad pick. The Buccaneers are at home. They're also 3-0. The Eagles also haven't looked that good. I mean, the same argument I'm making for the Buccaneers, I can be making for the Eagles too. They also probably should have lost against the Cowboys. They probably should have definitely lost to the Rams. And there was another game in there that I'm forgetting about that I can't remember right now. But they could I don't think the Eagles could be 0-3. I think they can be 1-2 though. They haven't. Oh yeah, it was against the Chiefs, which they kind of dominated that all game. So they probably won or lost that. But anyway, the Eagles could be 1-2 and the Buccaneers can be 0-3 if some things went differently. So I can definitely see the Buccaneers winning this game. Both of these teams are pretty close, I would say. Then we have my dad also taking the Eagles by 1 point. Not a bad spread. I mean, probably is going to be a 3-point game. Panthers, Patriots. I'm going to take the Panthers by 3. I took the Patriots last week against the Steelers. I obviously regretted doing that. That was a terrible pick. I mean, they had a chance at the end, but Mike Vrabel's just not doing what he has to do. Everybody thought, oh, the Patriots defense is going to be so good, and Mike Vrabel's such a good coach. He's going to turn this Patriots organization around. But not really. Patriots probably should be 0-3. The Dolphins should have won that game if Achane didn't step out of bounds. But that's what it's like being a Dolphins fan. Having to watch. That was the Miami Miracle Part 2. Achane running down the field. He's going to score a touchdown 34-33, and then he stepped out of bounds. Patriots win. That's not the only reason I'm taking the Panthers. Obviously, recency bias plays into these videos a lot, not just with me, but with everybody who predicts the NFL. Because, of course, the Panthers just won 30-0. How wouldn't you take them? So, of course, it's recency bias. But Bryce Young didn't even do that good. Their offense didn't even do that good. It was really their defense that played well, which is really weird considering they have a bad defense. So I can see the Patriots winning this. Greg is also going to take the Panthers. Interesting. I can definitely see the Patriots winning this, but I would say the Panthers. I don't know if they're favorite, but that is a pretty good prediction. And then we have my dad also taking the Panthers, 23-20. So everybody's taking the Panthers. Surprised nobody took the Patriots here, but I guess the Panthers are just favored. Bills Saints. Yeah, this doesn't really surprise, sorry, I got distracted by people talking outside. I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, the Bills 31-10. Yeah, no surprise here. The Saints suck. The Bills are really good. I'm not going to spend too much time on this game just because there's not too much to say about it. Greg said 38-21. Yeah, I can see the Saints scoring a little bit more here. The Bills' defense hasn't been that great. And then my dad with upset of the week, the Saints winning 27-20. How could that happen? I have no idea why he would pick the Saints to win this game. But at least it's going to be an interesting week. Most people actually have upsets going on right now. I think in every single game. Oh, yeah. And double checking, I made an error, and my dad actually took the Patriots to win that game 23-20. So keeping that in mind, I'm going to change that later. So keeping that in mind, Greg and I took the Panthers and my dad took the Patriots. So far in every game, I think all three of us has only picked the same team in 2 or 3 games, which means it's going to be a very interesting week for scores. So I'm very curious to see how that's going to go. This game, I do not think the Saints are going to win. I think my dad is going crazy picking the Saints here, but maybe he knows something that we don't. I don't know. 27-20 is interesting. The only way I can see the Saints winning this is if the Bills defense isn't the greatest. Okay. The Saints can have an electric offense. Their offense showed sparks all season. Jawan Johnson's been pretty good. But the only way I can really see them winning is if Josh Allen gets hurt, then Mitch Trubisky goes in, and then, a lot of things have to go right for the Saints. Browns-Lions, another game I'm not going to spend too much time on. Yes, the Browns just beat the Packers, but the Lions are at home, and I think the Lions is easier to upset the Packers than it is to upset the Lions because the Lions' offense is just too explosive, and their defense played lights out. 26-11, an interesting score, but we always do these safe scores like 27-24 or 27-20 or something like that. But a lot of these games, it's hard to predict the scores because a lot of these scores are something weird like 26-11 or 15-18 or something like that. My dad also taking the Lions. Closer score, though. Okay. Jaguars, 49ers. I'll take the Niners by 3. Um, the 49ers are the luckiest team in the league right now that they have the easiest schedule ever. I think the Jaguars are a pretty decent team, but I mean, even looking at their win last week against the Texans, both those teams look bad. So I can't really take the Jaguars here. I'm going to take the 49ers getting lucky again and getting a last second field goal, but I think it's going to be a pretty bad game. Greg is going to take the Niners by 6. Another pretty interesting score, but I can definitely see the 49ers missing an extra point. And then my dad is actually going to take the Jaguars here. It's a good pick. That's a smart pick. Because I can definitely see it happening. Nick Bosa's injured now. The 49ers are injured by week 4, like they always are. So that's predictable. Still somehow 3-0. All right, Colts Rams. This should be a really good game. The Colts have looked like the best team in the league. The Rams are the Rams, and they probably should be 3-0. Anyway, I'm going to take the Rams by 3, mostly only because they're at home. But I really liked the Rams offense. They looked good against the Eagles until the Eagles figured out how to throw the ball. The Colts, Jonathan Taylor, I think, is the number 1 running back right now, which is pretty crazy to think about, but the Colts are just that dominant. I mean, what can you say? I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a really good game, but I'm going to have the Rams winning by 3. Greg is going to take the Colts. Not a bad prediction. The Colts are really good this season for some reason. And the Rams still look really good. I think this is going to be the Rams having a very pass heavy game and the Colts having a very run heavy game. And usually when that happens, it's a more low scoring game, kind of like 27-24. But I can see the Colts winning it purely based off kind of what the Eagles did last week. Run the ball, see if it works, wait until it's a close game, start to figure it out in the passing game, start to throw it downfield, win by a field goal. My dad is going to take the Rams 14-10. He really likes this score, evidently. 14-10 is very interesting, but I think that both teams are going to score a lot more points than this. Both teams' defenses aren't great. The Rams' defense is probably a little bit better, but yeah. Bears, Raiders, 24-20. The Bears looked really good last week. The Raiders did not. Another example of recency bias. But I was happy with my prediction last week. I'm the only one who took the Bears. That definitely helped me. So there's that. And then Greg's prediction is also the Bears. Again, recency bias, of course. I can see the Raiders winning this, but they just don't run with Ashton Jeanty enough. And if you're not going to use your best rookie running back that you drafted so high not to use, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't think the Raiders are going to win this game, and I think the Bears have figured it out. My dad disagrees, obviously, with the Raiders winning this game. Geno Smith hasn't looked great. I mean, last week, Geno Smith is one of these weird quarterbacks where the Raiders look abysmal, and you're like, oh man, the Raiders just got blown out. And then you look at the stats, and Geno Smith has 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like, how the hell did this happen? Wait, and how does he have such good stats and he played so ass? It doesn't make any sense. And then Ravens Chiefs should also be a good game. I'm going to take the Ravens by 7. Both teams are 1-2, which is very interesting. We definitely wouldn't expect these records with these teams, but it's still early in the season. This really means nothing. The Ravens didn't look that good last week, but they kept it close. The Chiefs also didn't look very good. But one team didn't look very good against a very good Lions team, and one team didn't look very good against a very bad Giants team. So, considering that, or taking that into consideration, I think the Ravens are definitely going to win this game. And I think they're going to win with the toe tap this time. And then we have Greg's prediction 31-19 Ravens. No surprise, the Ravens are going to be pissed after what just happened. I think that they're just going to curb stomp the Chiefs. Then we have my dad who took the Chiefs 20-17. Again, not a bad prediction. The Ravens just they're kind of like the new Chargers. They just kind of choke games. So that is no surprise that he's taking the Chiefs and home field advantage, of course. If there's any team in the league you don't want to play at home, it's definitely the Chiefs. Sunday Night Football, Packers, Cowboys, Packers 28-24. I think it's going to be closer. Again, we can talk about recency bias and the Packers losing to the Browns, and that's why it's going to be a closer game. But the Packers and Cowboys games are always pretty good, maybe apart from that wild card game. But I think that it will be close. The Cowboys don't play as good at home as you think they would. That's always the story with the Cowboys. But I think surprisingly, the Cowboys are actually going to do okay in this game. They're going to stick around with the Packers. I don't think they're going to win it, though. Greg is also taking the Packers 31-24. Another score I like. It's Sunday Night Football. I mean, whether you like it or not, this is going to be a close game. I can almost bet money on it that it's going to be a close game, even though it probably shouldn't be. And then my dad is taking the Cowboys 21-20, another score that he likes to use, evidently. The only way the Cowboys can win this game is pretty much what the Browns did last week, except times 10, because the Packers are going to be pissed that they just lost against the Browns. And they were super conservative against the Browns. So you can bet on it that they are not going to be conservative in this game. Matthew Golden expect to have a big day. Monday Night Football, Jets Dolphins could be a better game than people expect. 24-17, I'll pick the Dolphins, mostly only because they have home field advantage. But you could argue the Jets should have won that game last week against the Jets. Realistically, could be 2-1. The Dolphins could be 1-2. Not that scores really matter at this very moment, but I think the Dolphins have figured something out on offense. They figured out their passing game. Still can't run the ball, which is unfortunate. The Jets also kind of figured it out, but you also would say that in week 1, too, when they almost beat the Steelers, and then see what happened after that. Greg is going to take the Jets. Another surprise pick, but Tyrod Taylor played pretty good. I have no idea how he's still in the league. How long has he been playing for? It's got to be like 10 years now. Um, anyway, oh yeah, and he had his lung punctured or something. Yeah, it's crazy how long he's just been a backup quarterback for. I can see him winning this game, though. The Dolphins are the Dolphins, so never trust them to do anything good. My dad will take the Dolphins 14-10. I think the Dolphins are just going to have to rely on the pass and hope Tua doesn't throw it to a wide open defender. Broncos Bengals should be a better game, but after what happened last week, the massacre in Minnesota, I don't think that the Bengals really stand a chance. Although the Broncos also aren't very good, like people expect them to be, but something's got to click at some point, and I think that this will be the week that it will click. Um, Greg agrees 27-24. And then my dad is going to take the Broncos 20-10. So, yeah, I think Courtland Sutton also did good last week. That's why I'm saying I think the Broncos clicked. I could be wrong. You can say this with every team. It's like, oh, well, last week they played good, something clicked, and then the next week they look super ass, and then you're like, oh, well, I guess it didn't click. But I also do not trust the Bengals defense to do anything. And obviously their offense can't do anything either. But that's it for this week, so stay tuned for next week.